Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Blast Greats. Today we're gonna have another OG player on board. Today we're gonna have a player that a lot of you guys know for his incredible in-game leading skills. A lot of you guys know him as to be one of the dare I say, founding members of the ENCE we all know today. The ENCE team that was one of the best teams in the entire world. The ENCE team that went to a major final and was so close of actually doing the dirty thing to Astralis. Now today he's playing in OG. He's had a little bit of a turbulent career, we can say, but let's have a talk with him. It's gonna be our very own AleksiB. How are you doing, sir?
Hello, Pimp. I'm doing fine.
Yes, awesome. So why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction to who you are? Because I remember you back in 2015, 2016. You were this Finnish player who was super annoying to play against because we didn't really think you guys were any good back then. But you must have done something right in those early stages. When did your career start, and when did you figure out that you actually had the potential to be not only one of the best in-game leaders in the world, but actually a pretty solid player as well?
I'd say my career started at like when we built the ENCE.
Mm-hmm.
But even before that, obviously I went through Finnish local lands. I went through many Finnish leagues. But to be fair, like we only made it to like one or two international tournaments, and I wouldn't say that's a huge accomplishment. So that's why I'm saying that when I started on ENCE 2018 March or something like this,
Mm-hmm.
that's when my career really started. Because not only was I playing with the who I think was the best Finnish players, but we made it to a lot of international tournaments and we made name for ourselves.
Sure.
But yeah, before that I played with in Havu. Was that like the best Finnish team because there was no ends back then.
Sure.
We won Finnish lands. We got into Star Ladder Shanghai or something as an international land. Didn't do well there, but all I'm saying is like we were the best in Finland at that moment, and we just like needed something to go to the next level, and unfortunately we couldn't do it. And then we created ENCE, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. I mean, the ENCE lineup you're talking about, the 2018 version, I think, that's the one with Alu as well, where
Yeah,
you
yeah,
really
sure.
gathered around all I would say, the best Finnish players, and you made it. Were you always in-game leading that team, or was that always set in stone that you were going to be the in-game leader, or is that a role you transitioned into?
2018 and even before that, yeah, I've always been the leader of the team, the in-game leader.
Okay.
No question about it. That's how we visioned it, and that's how we went with the flow ever since then. I've been on ENCE 2016. It was a tryout period for me. I was there for 3 months.
Okay.
We won this tournament called IACF. I don't know how you spell it, but like
Sure.
some tournament in Jakarta, like Indonesia.
Okay.
We won Tailu in a best of three at the grand finals,
Yeah.
and like that was the only tournament for me I can think of where I wasn't the leader,
Okay.
or like I could help in game, but I wasn't like so-called the main in-game leader.
Okay.
But ever since then, and even before that, with my other teams I played with, I was always the leader. And even on that team, we made the change for me to be the leader.
Okay.
And ever since then, like, no question, I've always been the in-game leader.
Okay, it's quite interesting to me because, as I said initially, you guys or at least I believe you and the Finnish players in general, the scene wasn't as strong as the talent justified it, I would say. Because I remember playing some of your teams back in 2015, even 2014, when I was
Yeah.
at my highest, and it felt like on paper we should always beat you, and on paper it shouldn't be a close match. But for whatever reason, you guys were always a pity to play against. Like, you guys were legit good back then, but for whatever reason, it was like you never really made it to the top level. What do you think back then, from your experience in 2014, 2015, maybe even 16? What held you guys back in terms of the Finnish scene? Because we can agree that the skill was always there, but for whatever reason you didn't have a top international team back then. Was there anything in particular that stands out, or was it just you needed time to mature as a country?
Yeah, I mean, obviously at 2014, 2015, I wasn't playing with the best players in Finland, or like I wasn't the best in the best team in Finland.
Okay.
But I had good talent. But I guess like the main points are, first of all, we weren't all like full-time players. We didn't have a really sick org who backed us up in like all the ways imaginable. There were many of these like things outside of the server, you could say, that just didn't enable us to focus 100% on the game. But yeah, I mean, we tryharded a lot.
Sure.
And we had a lot of motivation, and I can like I know from your perspective, like if today I join a server and we play against a lesser opponent, like
Sure.
like for them it feels like the major final,
Yeah.
and for me it feels like let's just get it over with, or something like this. Not like I'm obviously over exaggerated a
Sure.
bit, but you know how it is. And it's just the fact that the mentality back then was that we have to show everyone, like even the slightest pro team we come across, like we have to fight back, or we have to get some results. And that was the motivation back then. And yeah, for us, like sometimes we won against a decent opponent, sometimes we lost. But I guess for me at least, like it always built more motivation to fight for the future. And yeah,
completely makes sense, and I think it's a very solid point you bring up, as you said, that when you're on the level you're on right now, when you're playing some of the, let's say, the open qualifiers, or some of the lesser tournaments out there where you do qualify for big tournaments, of course the lesser skilled teams will always have that feeling that this is their time to shine, so maybe that evens out the level a little bit. It's a fair point to raise. In Finland, as I said, it feels like you've always had a decent amount of role models as well. I don't know if you started in 1.6 or if you were playing Source when you started out playing Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I played 1.6, but to be honest, I never played it competitively.
Okay.
I played this game Call of Duty 4,
Yeah.
like pro mode back then. Like that's the first game I kind of played like in teams.
Okay. Cool. Because when I look to, I come from the Counter-Strike Source scene, and when I look towards the Finnish scene, there was a lot of role models. I remember Disturbed, I remember Angel Dust, some of those names I'm sure you're familiar with. It seemed like you always had you always had good role models to look up to. Those were solid players. They seemed to be nice guys, and for whatever reason, it didn't really work out for you in the beginning. The only player that comes into mind when you talk Finland in the beginning is Alu, right? Do you think that part of the problem, if you can say it like that, part of the problem with you guys not really getting to the top level was that the only player you had in Counter-Strike Global Offensive that really played at a high level was Alu, and he wasn't even playing in his national team. He was going to Mousesports, he was going to NIP, all around the world. Did you need Alu sort of to come back to Finland in order to elevate the rest of the scene, or is it more, as I said before, was it more just a question of time before you, as a new generation, really matured enough to be as good as you are today?
Yeah, I feel like the Finnish scene was revolving around Alu, and like obviously like there was good reasons behind that, because he was the most successful player in Finland. And I feel like he elevated the, like whenever he came back to a Finnish team, like people got hope, right?
Yeah.
And that even happened like with the 2018 ENCE. Like Alu was a big reason for the success, and big reason for like the whole team happening, and us getting a good organization behind us. But I think like before that, at least for me, like I never really had any idols or anybody I looked up to on CSGO.
Okay.
It was more for me because I was a huge fanboy of like 1.6 players and the teams back then.
Sure.
So for a Finnish player, like Lurpis was
Okay.
was, you could say, well, idol, or you could say a guy I looked up to, in a way that I remember there's many good YouTube videos where these Finnish teams are being filmed on LAN, and how they communicate and like are with each other. And for me it was like huge watching them, and them like screaming to each other. And I've heard like stories where they don't even join the TeamSpeak because they just want the enemy to feel miserable because they're only screaming and they're inside their head.
Sure.
This kind of stuff. Not sure if it's actually true, but I like after watching those videos, like I could imagine. So
Yeah.
but for me, yeah, from 1.6 days, like there was a lot of players, or like a tiny bit of like bigger names that affected my own career or my own thoughts and everything.
Okay.
And not so much for CSGO players, and maybe it's only because like we didn't have a Finnish team back in the days who was fighting for trophies or whatever. Like we had the 3D Max obviously, who qualified for Major and played there, but yeah, I mean, obviously they didn't contend for the #1 spot or something like this. So maybe you could argue that that was the reason. But
Sure.
yeah.
All right. Well, I think there's no neglecting the fact that the Finnish scene today is in a relatively healthy state. We'll say, though, that ENCE, as of right now, of course, is not looking like their best version. But when you look towards the players you have to choose from in Finland, would you agree with the sentiment that your scene right now is probably, despite ENCE not performing as well as they are right now, it's probably stronger, right? You have a bigger talent pool, and you have, maybe you can share some light on that. Do you have anyone coming up within the Finnish scene that you believe can potentially be a replacement of any of the players in ENCE? Because the way I feel it right now, looking at the Finnish scene, it seems to me like you're in a better place than ever. Of course, with the fact that ENCE is not really performing right now, but that's possibly just, a bit of a time before the get going.
Yeah, I mean, there obviously are some names, but I just don't know, like, you could argue that some of them are a risk.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if you can hear it from my mic, but there's like our neighbors are doing a construction.
No, it's all good.
Blowing up stuff, so I have to wait for this explosion.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah, we heard it. It's fine. Just
like
play with
I
it.
wake up to that 8 in the morning.
Jesus. Well, I got the same thing outside of my bedroom window right now. It's just a big construction place basically, and it's the worst, man. It's the worst.
Yeah. So for the Finnish players, so I mean they just picked up Jumpy, and I feel like for ENCE that's the best thing that could happen. Like honestly,
Okay.
I feel like Jumpy is a person that everybody could like. Like he's a young kid, he's a young talent, he's flashy, he's a good guy, he can do interviews, many good things going for him. And I mean ENCE got a lot of backlash, and I think Jumpy saves the day, like with this move.
Okay.
The only thing I'm just questioning is like I don't know the back. I don't know how his like conflict with Valve has been going, and is he ever gonna get unbanned? That can ENCE play majors with Jumpy if they qualify and this
Sure.
kind of stuff, or if they just committed to playing every Valve tournament with X7 and then everything else with Jumpy. Like these are some questions I obviously don't know. They will probably explain, or then they already have and I just don't know.
Okay.
But I feel like Jumpy does a lot of good to them.
Okay.
And we can only see what they're capable of doing in the future. And I'm glad for Jumpy as well, because I could imagine that there was many teams maybe who wouldn't pick him up because of these allegations. And I'm glad like ENCE did and gives him a chance, so hope for the best for him.
Okay.
As for other players, I know for a fact that there are some really good players in Finland at the moment who are yet to show like everything they can do. For example, Hoodie in Havu, Slowy in Havu, like he played an insane tournament on Flashpoint, I feel like. Then there is Derkeps on Kova. He's a young talent, as like a 16-year-old, if I'm not mistaken. People in the chat can say if I'm wrong.
Sure.
But he's like 16 with an insane aim. Not sure though, like I've heard he's half Russian, so not sure like how his communication is.
Okay.
But I can feel like if you're that young, like you can fix everything with time and experience. So there are these names who I feel like will climb up to the #1 team in Finland, or maybe get invited to an EU team. I don't know, but I can feel like these players will come up still, and I'm sure there might be some names I forgot, but at least those three are quite easy to say.
Sure.
For me, who are really strong players. But yeah, I'm not sure did I just go out of line with your original question.
No, it's
but
fine.
at least like those are some names and some thoughts about ENCE. at the
Sure,
moment.
and I guess it gives you're basically answering my question, right? Because I asked you whether or not you believe that the Finnish scene is looking good. You know, whether it's getting stronger,
Yeah,
and by the sound of it, you seem to believe there's a lot of good players out there that potentially could go in and be the dare I say the new generation of Finnish players. So seems like your place is in a pretty good state. Now, if we talk about you and move a little bit back more to you and your personal career. ENCE in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Cologne in 2018 was the first time we saw what ENCE really was made of. I believe you finished 7th to 8th maybe. You lost a game against Navi, who ended up winning the
Navi,
entire
yeah.
tournament. But you played a very competitive game. You played a very, you went to the playoff first of all. I don't think anyone expected that either. Would you agree that was the first time the world got to see what ENCE really were capable of?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the route to Cologne was also like we got an invite to the GG bet something held in Moscow,
Okay.
and we needed to win that in order to get invited to Cologne. We went there, we won it. Was really sick feeling for us because obviously, like for the online qualifiers, we will fail miserably, and I mean, you could say it's only because it was held in online, but I feel like with ENCE, like we really couldn't play online. Like we just didn't get the same focus we did on LAN.
Okay.
And obviously having like experience like Alu as our most experienced player, like Alu, like he shines on LAN as well. So every time we got to LAN, it was comfort for us. But we got to Cologne. I think we won Mouse Sports in the first playoff game, and then we lost to Navi, if I'm not mistaken right here.
Sure.
But I mean, we played really good against some teams that were highly ranked, and we weren't at all. Like we were somewhere around 20 something at the rankings. But then we started to skyrocket. I mean, first we got to like 18 or something out of when we came back from Cologne, or 15, I don't remember. Then suddenly it was the major, something else, and then the finals of major, and we just skyrocketed to top 10, and then we won the star ladder in Kiev.
Yeah.
Maybe it was before the major, I just don't know, I'm just saying on top of my head.
Sure.
But we just, after we got invites to LANs, or we qualified for LANs, we played really solid, and suddenly we were in the top 10, and then obviously the invites start rolling to your way, and I feel like we just kept our level. I mean, people were questioning, are we a fluke because of the major and everything, but after that we had the Blast, we had the Blast Sao Paulo, we had the Blast Madrid, where we won Astralis in the best of 3.
Yeah.
Other tournaments that kept us like, or proved us not to be a fluke.
Sure.
And then I mean, yeah, some we didn't obviously break through the part where we could, like we always lost to the elite Astralis. Like
Sure.
the Astralis with the major form, like we had no chance, or the Liquid that were beasting it on, like when they were top 1.
Okay.
Like those two teams, like we never could break through that we could be a team who like dominates everyone. So I mean, that was the, I guess, downside for it, that we could maybe contend for the first place, but then we just didn't have it in us. So
Sure.
yeah.
I could imagine that being a bit tough. Looking at your results, as you mentioned, you know, starting out by winning DreamHack Open Winter 2018, you're winning a simpler winter, a smaller event in locally. You're going to Sao Paulo. You're finishing 3rd. You're winning Madrid. Obviously, you made it to the final in the major as well. You had so many good results, and I think it's safe to say, just looking at the records right here, you were one of the most consistent teams within the World Elite. You just mentioned it, and I'm glad you did, because as you said, you were never in peak shape. You guys were never as good as Astralis, or in peak shape, you guys were never as good as Liquid. But we can also attest it to you guys that you hold your shape, like you hold your peak shape sort of to a pretty high standard for the majority of 2019 and also late 2018. What do you think was like, how do you think you were able to play so consistently? Because if you look towards the teams today, Astralis, well, if they're not the best team in the world, they're just playing like a 4th or 5th. If Liquid is not the best in the world, they're just playing like a 4th and 5th. There's not that consistency coming into it. I guess you could argue Astralis have always been a top 5 team, no matter how bad they are. But still, you look at Liquid, they go from being the best team in the world to be a top 7, top 8. You look at FaZe, they went from being the best team in the world to be top 7, top 8. You look at MIBR, who's not even in top 10 right now, slowly but surely crawling their way back. What made you guys able to stay so consistently good for such a long period?
I mean, the easiest thing I would say, I mean, like, I don't know about the other teams you just named, like, how it is in their camp, but I just know, like, at least from my feelings, our communication was proper. Like, the way we talked and the way we kept our cool, like, things just clicked on the server, and a lot of the times, we didn't end up in the situations, like in bad situations, only because like most of the time our comm was really good. You know, from my experience with OG, there is always like these moments where you play with an international team and some things could be said really easily in Finnish, or like it's just like it requires a lot of experience to be played like with English.
Yeah.
Things just doesn't go out of the other ear when you're telling important communication. But with ENCE, I feel like that wasn't the case. Like, we were always on top of our game only because we had really good communication, and I think that like that goes straight into why we were consistent, because obviously we were grinding, the other teams were grinding, but it's a fact that we kept our calm, especially in high nerve games, and that might be just why we came on top in many series.
It makes sense to me, because I think, you know, steady communication and crystal clear communication is definitely one of the most important factors to find success, you know, in any given tournament. And if you, as you describe it, you had a consistent level of good communication. Now you did mention it a little bit right here. A lot of people, including myself in my job as an analyst, were constantly looking to you guys and thinking, okay, you're doing well. We don't really expect you coming into any tournament. It was not like we expected ENCE to be in the final, but you somehow were always, you know, in the playoff, somehow always in the semi-final, maybe even the final. At what point during that streak of good tournaments did you personally, but maybe also as a team, start to feel a little bit frustrated that you weren't better than just the second best or the third best team? Like, you weren't able to raise your level to the best in the world. Was that frustrating, or were you guys happy with just being, you know, a placeholder for Astralis or a placeholder for Liquid until they hit their peak shape?
The chat is calling me out for saying like all the time. I need to focus on this one. Maybe it's a flaw.
You speak however you want in here. The chat,
yeah.
You know, I'll tell them to shut the fuck up, and you just do you, man.
No, it's good feedback. But I mean, obviously we got frustrated about it. Always losing to Astralis and Liquid. I think Liquid we lost in finals twice. Astralis we lost to major final. I mean, we won them on the Madrid one, but all I'm saying is, like, we never could get the form that we are actually capable of going into one tournament and maybe winning it, to going another and being in the finals and maybe having a close game. Like, usually when we played really good up until the finals, sometimes we had horrible finals, or we just didn't match their skill, who was in the finals with us. I think Madrid was the only time when it actually clicked, like we played proper, and even in the finals, I feel like we were the stronger team, even though like Astralis was, they had the 27 win streak on Nuke.
Yeah, they weren't bad. Yeah.
And we just let them pick Nuke, because it was funny, and as every time we spoke about, sometimes we were gonna win Astralis, and we were gonna let them pick Nuke, and we are gonna win it, and it actually happened. I mean, we had our permaban back then. I mean, I don't know, was it Vertigo? Yeah, I think. And obviously we needed to ban Vertigo so they could always pick Nuke, but we were sure that we're gonna win them one time and we're gonna win them on Nuke, and then that's when we broke their streak and won the best of 2, best of 3, and that's a final where I can say things clicked. So we've seen that as well, but too often it happened that we just didn't bring it on the finals.
Okay. Because when and this is a leading question, because when I look at your results, right, you went to DreamHack Masters in Dallas, you placed second, you lost to Liquid in the final 2-1, not a bad result at all, it's a big tournament. You went to Cologne, and that was the first time I feel we saw you, Cologne 2019, you went out of the group stage, I believe, not winning a single game. That was the first time we saw ENCE really falling apart from each other. Then you went straight to the next tournament, which was IEM Chicago, where you again went to the final. You lost to Liquid 3-0 in the final, but still, you went to the final. And then the Starletter Berlin Major, which was a fun one. Now, it's a leading question because when you look at the results leading up to the Starletter Major in Berlin, they weren't that bad. You had that one event in Cologne where you didn't perform at all, but anyway, you ended up in a situation where after the Berlin Major, it was decided you didn't have to be part of the team anymore. Was that because of the frustration that you guys couldn't get over that hurdle of beating the teams in the finals, or was it simply down to the fact that Cologne was a disappointment? Can you try to maybe put some words on what happened in that period and how was the team chemistry that led up to the fact that they or you decided in common that you were no longer going to be part of ENCE?
I mean, it was just a matter of time until we had this tournament where we don't make it out of groups, because I felt like before Cologne we made out of every groups there is, like every group there was, we always made through. So obviously the tournament was somewhere that we just don't get out of groups, and Cologne was the tournament for us. Like just as we lost in 2018, we didn't make it out of the groups. And 2019, the same scenario. So for us, I think it, like for me at least, it just built motivation and was a learning curve. And we spoke about it. We spoke about what went wrong, what didn't go. Like I remember we played against Heroic or something.
Yeah.
And I just remember the mood on the server wasn't the mood that we usually have. And if we're playing against an underdog team, you could say, and they are, playing their hearts out and giving everything, and then you watch our camp, and if we start losing, it's not the same case. Like, we didn't bring the same energy the enemy put, and we simply lost it.
Okay.
As for like these things build up to the conclusion of me going out, I don't think so. At least, like, from what I've heard after the fact, is like it was gonna happen eventually.
Okay.
And that's the moment they could bring Sunny in, so it happened.
Okay.
So obviously Sunny was in most sports, and they got the chance and they went with it. So I don't think the results mattered, to be honest. But all I'm saying is, like, we were waiting for the tournament that we just get blown out of groups, and we bounced back after. Like, after that, we bounced back. We went to the finals again. We play, like, even the Berlin Major, even though I knew that I was gonna be out of the team after. Like, I asked the team before the major, like, okay guys, I can either play this tournament with you, but you need to guarantee to me that everybody is gonna, trust me. Everybody's gonna play to their best, these kind of things. And they were like, yeah, sure. Like, we would be more than happy to play with you, because like they had, I feel like they had the thought in their mind that I could be a guy that says like, fuck you, and I don't want to play with you, and go to the major with the coach or with Sunny. I don't know if that was even a chance to get Sunny. But they were more than happy to play with me, and I'm glad they wanted to play with me. And all I could ask for in that tournament was a good run, and me playing good individually, or as the leader still. And we got into the legend stage, but I just think, like, I don't know what happened in the Renegades game, the 100 Thieves right now.
Sure.
But we just didn't show up at all. I mean, they prepped better. They were the better team in that series. We just didn't wake up at all. We didn't show the same face we had on like going up to the legend stage. So nothing we could do about it, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, sure, and I think, you know, this may be a theory, right? But once you made that legend stage, you knew you were secured for the next major. At least you thought you were, and that maybe also played a role into it, right? You basically accomplished what you needed to accomplish as a team at that point. I'm glad you mentioned it a little bit yourself, and feel free to say no to answer this question. But can you try to explain how it is to be a player? Because I think a lot of the viewers out there would love to know that, because it doesn't happen often. You're basically being benched before the major, and you're deciding that you're going to continue playing with them at the major and then leave after the major, right? To help them out, but also help you yourself, I guess, to find a new team. Playing a major and playing well as you did is a good window of opportunity. Can you try to explain how that felt to you as a player? Did you feel sad? Did you feel motivated? How was the feeling for you personally going into that major? Because as you said, you did well. You landed a good team afterwards, and I think you can, at least from my point of view, you can be, you know, proud of the performance you did at that major. How was it for AleksiB as a person?
Well, first of all, it was hard, but I got the news a good time before the major, so I could like think about it, think about the big picture, everything, and every sign or everything in my mind just said like, you're not a god in a sense that you've been on the scene for a long time and you've been to fucking 15 majors or whatever. Like, I've only had one major, and I made the finals, of course, but this was the second upcoming major for me, so every bell in my head was just ringing like, if it's possible, you play this major and you play it for the to your best ability, and it will help your career. And I, like, with that said, obviously I wanted to know that the players want to play with me or want to listen to me if we go to play a major, and that's what they said and that's what they did. So I'm happy they wanted to play with me, and I'm happy I went there, even though like once I was in there, like going to fly to Berlin and to be with a team, and you know, like things out of the stuff out of the server you don't want to think about or something like this, like, see, you're in the same prac room, those kind of things are like, you just have to live with it. Like, it's not only gonna take 1 or 2 weeks and then it's over. And I just had that like for my motivation, and yeah, I mean, like, if I think about it now, I'm glad I went there. I'm glad I played to the best of my ability, and maybe it swayed the view some people had for me, or maybe it I don't know, impressed someone, I hope. And then that's all I could ask for.
Sure, and I think, as I said, I think a lot of us, we call ourselves experts, you know, analysts. We were surprised by how well you did, and we're surprised by how well, or how, I guess the best way to say it is that it didn't look like it affected the team of ENCE too much, the whole thing leading up to it, right? Where I could imagine if I were you, I would be, first and foremost, I'd be pissed, I'd be sad, I'd be frustrated. I guess that's feelings you can relate to, but the fact that you managed to pull yourself up and actually perform at a high level and qualify for the legend stage in the current circumstances is, to me at least, impressive. And I think that's, you know, the general vibe of the community. Now, after the major, enough about that. We know you're now out of ENCE. You then moved into OG. I talked to NBK last week, and he said that was a project that took some time to get established. Can you try to give me a short resume of what happened after you basically left ENCE and up until the point you joined OG? As I understood it, right, it took some months to get that project built, and it took some months to find the right pieces and players.
Yeah. I spoke with Nathan after the major, and I just knew like his resume in a way that he's always hungry to build a new team. He's always hungry to work to make the team good, and I guess that's a good foundation with me, to get 3 more players and to build a team from scratch and make it work. We spoke with a lot of players. We rambled around. We thought about the team dynamics and everything, but I'm glad the time is over, because that's just a time where you're like hopeless in a way that maybe a player maybe in your head you're thinking of the team and suddenly a player leaves, and maybe you're thinking of an org and suddenly the org is not coming up. And for me, it's like I'm really glad at the moment I'm playing in OG and I'm playing with these players. And right now I know it's like we failed to we failed the close qualifier for the DreamHack Spring.
Yeah.
And I know at the moment we have a lot of spare weeks. If we don't join an online tournament, we probably will. But right now, the next tournament will be in 7 or 8 weeks.
Okay.
And some people could say like that's demotivating. I mean, sure, when we lost the closed qualifier, that was demotivating. Like,
sure,
we have nothing to fight for. But right now, the vision is that we're gonna, like, these 7 weeks or 8 weeks, we're gonna make it count so much that we need to build consistency. We need to build, like, really shape up the good foundations. And if we're able to work these 7 weeks properly, or to have productive weeks and productive practice days, and to learn from our mistakes, we could be so much better. Because when you watch our games, we keep losing to, for example, pistol buys, we keep losing to stupid stuff, or we keep forgetting strats, for example. And those are just small adjustments that you can fix, right?
Sure.
And if we can manage to fix even half of our bad stuff, it's already gonna build some consistency. And right now we've even won some good teams. I'm not saying that we will 2-0 every top 5 team easily. All I'm saying is that we're fighting back, and maybe if we can build 5% more of the consistency, maybe 10 even, it's gonna make it so that we're gonna go, like, when the game is 13-13, we might come out on top, right?
Sure.
So that's the only goal in this, you could say, off season, even though we're gonna grind hard.
Okay.
But it's all up to us to show.
It's a very positive way at looking at it, because obviously not qualifying for DreamHack must, as you said, must have been demotivating, and it must have been a little bit sad, you know. I think I talked to Nathan last week, and I think the sense that we all get right now is that OG have shown us a lot of potential. We've sort of seen what you guys can do on a good day, but as you also mentioned here, the consistency is not there yet. A player I want to talk about, I also asked Nathan about the same question, is that there was this controversy about Jumpy and Mantuu, right? It's not a secret out there that Jumpy was supposed to join your team for whatever reasons, with the whole Major and Valve stuff. He was not able to, and you then found Mantuu instead. Now, looking at how he has been performing, would it be fair to say that you're more than happy with the second pick in the upworld for your team?
Yes, for sure, at least. Right now, how I know Mantuu is, as I've said in previous interviews, but he's gonna be like, if he keeps it up, if he keeps this level of commitment and learning from his mistakes and listening to more experienced players and obviously trusting in himself,
sure,
he's gonna be on the scene for a long time. Only, like, he's a guy who puts a lot of hours, and you can't imagine how easy it is to be a leader, or to be a guy who can guide a player. Or for example, I'm always happy, like, we go, let's say we play a practice, let's say we play an official. After the official, or after everybody leaves the TeamSpeak, I'm like, Mantuu, I'm gonna grab you for 5 minutes, then we can leave. Then I'm saying to him, on this situation, just try to understand that, like, right here, if you throw a molly here, it will, like, cut off their rotations or whatever, or could be a peak. Then on the next day or the next official we have, I'm watching the VOD, and I'm like, holy shit, he did exactly what I told him, and he understands what is said to him. And some players, like, they even me, like, someone could say something bad to me or something like constructive criticism, and it takes a long time for it to be fixed. And for him, it just clicks every time. So if he keeps this up, and he's obviously showing great results on the server, like stats-wise,
sure,
and he even picked up the AWP role, like, he didn't play, he played a second AWP role, kind of, on alternate attacks. And he's a really new player, so all props to him. Like, if he keeps it up, he's gonna be on the scene, and he's gonna be considered one of the, like, actual good, talented players.
Yeah, it's nice to hear, right? Because I think the one thing you always question, the one thing we as viewers, we as experts can't see from the outside is how well does a guy communicate? How well does he fit into a team? What is the team chemistry like with this guy? And what I sensed from Nathan was that he's a nice guy. He listens into what's being said to him, and he's a hard worker. And I get the same vibe for you. So despite being your second pick, there, said he's done phenomenally well for you guys.
Yeah.
Looking a bit more at OG before we jump into a demo review here, I just have a few more questions. Are you satisfied with your results so far? Because I felt Nathan he was somewhat satisfied, right? It seems like you're progressing. Seems like you're getting a little bit better game by game, event by event, but you're still not clicking, right? There's still something missing. You said it yourself. You're losing a lot of rounds to force buys, for example. You're not really so strong against anti-ecos. You seem to be losing a lot of guys as well. When you have won the round, instead of just making sure every 5 players stays alive, you go for some unnecessary duels. Some of the, there's a children mistakes is still apparent in your team. Do you think that's what's holding you back right now from going to the top level? Because we have seen you play well. We have seen you in Pro League, for example. Every single game you played almost was competitive. It was close, and you could potentially have won them. So I think we've seen what OG can do. Would you say that you're satisfied with the progress you made, or do you still expect a little bit more out of yourself and your teammates for that matter?
I mean, I always expect more. I'm a guy though that can be proud of good things as well, so I'm not always gonna downplay everything.
Okay.
Even though I'm critical of my own play or of our team play, but the fact is that we've shown great results in terms of winning top 5 teams in best of 3s, even though it's online. We've done it on LAN even. Like wasn't EG like a top 5 team when we won them 2 times on Blast?
Yeah.
I think they were top 5 back then.
Sure.
It doesn't really matter if they're top 5, top 6. I don't care. But the fact is that we have won top 5 teams in best of 3s, 2-0 even, with a dominating game. We've won against top 5 teams in close games, and we've lost horribly. So it's all over the place.
Sure.
But to me, if we have done it, there is, like, I feel like there is nothing that could hold us back by doing it again and doing it more consistently. But the fact is that we could win Fnatic, let's say, who won Pro League. We won them 2-1 in a best of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 weeks after, we lose to teams that or play really close games against teams that are not even in the HLTV top 30. And that says something, obviously. I'm not saying, like, many good teams, there are many teams that can bring a fight to any top 5 team in online. On LAN even, they could do it. All I'm saying is that there is something lacking, and that's maybe mentality going into fighting lesser opponents, or just the consistency that we need to build the foundation so good that even though our individuals have a bad day, we can still smash these teams that we should beat in our mind.
Sure.
I know, yeah. I mean, that's where I place us. I place us somewhere in the middle. We can beat good teams, we can lose to bad teams. I am not saying that we are a top 10 team, I'm not saying we're a top 15 team. All I'm saying is we're capable of being top 10 or, yeah, inside the top 10 and beating these teams with good results. But we still need to work for it. We still need to put a lot of thought to many small things. I mean, there's still some maps that we're changing positions, some maps that we are not yet 100% comfortable on.
Sure.
And it's gonna take time. All I'm saying is we need to keep working these upcoming weeks. We need to put in good use, and it's up for us to show, can we bring the consistency? Because if we can, we will be in the top 10, and then the results will speak to how do you say it? I mean,
they'll speak for themselves, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's up for us to show, and I have that as the motivation.
Sure, and I was just about to ask that. You know, knowing you and watching you from an outside perspective, I can hardly imagine you're satisfied with being that inconsistent. Also, considering you came from ENCE, where you were super consistent. does it frustrate you more or does it motivate you more? You're in that position right now. Of course, if I'm asking you this question in 6 months from now and you're still super inconsistent, it will be a frustrating thing for you. But given where you are at the current state with OG, the fact that you've only been together for, was it 4 or 5 months by now, are you okay with the fact that you're inconsistent? Is that a motivating thing for you, or is it a bit more frustrating? I know it's hard to divide up in 2 different categories, but try to put some words on whether you feel more frustrated or you feel more motivated by the fact that there's still so much work to do.
I can feel frustrated at times, but then I have to just check back to reality, because
Sure.
it took a long time for us on ENCE to even beat a top 5 team in a best of 1.
Yeah.
Or a top 10 team. It took a long time. I'm not sure exactly, but I know for a fact it took a long time for us to beat good teams on series 2-0 even. And with OG, whether it's been 5 months, I know we had obviously the Christmas break, 5 months, 6 months, whatever it is. If I watch it like this, I'm glad of how far we've come, because I know for a fact that the mistakes, or we have so many little mistakes that can be easily fixed, which is gonna bring some consistency already. The thing is that can we have those big, you could say even bigger problems fixed? Because if we can obviously level up even more. But to be fair, I'm really proud of how far we've already come. Considering if I watch my past, it seriously took a long time for us to be consistent with ENCE, for us to be contending for trophies with ENCE. So if I watch it like that, I'm glad. Obviously, you can always be frustrated because you put in a lot of work and then you lose with the smallest of margins, or you lose if you don't remember a strat or something really slim, and you just think like, why is this happening, you know? But those are small things, and I'm still hungry to win, so
That's good. That's good. It sounds like you're still motivated, yeah. One last question before we jump into the demo review. We're gonna talk about the Fnatic match. You said you won it already, 2-1, so spoiler alert right there. It's fine. You win 16-13 on Dust 2 against Fnatic, and that's the demo we're gonna watch. In ESL Pro League, I mentioned it before, you guys played a lot of close games. You guys played a lot of series against, you played Mouse Sports, you played Navi, you played Fnatic, you played Astralis. A lot of those games were competitive, I would say. Looking back at ESL Pro League, looking back at the results, does that satisfy you, or is that more like frustrating? Because I felt that OG, you were closer than the score suggested, right? There was a lot of those games that could have gone your way. The comeback against Fnatic was a great example. You lost the first map, which you shouldn't have lost on Inferno. Then you went down 13-7, I believe, on Mirage and managed to turn it around and win the game. And then you won Dust 2, which we're going to see here in a second. It seems like you guys are already showing a lot of character right now. Would you agree with the sentiment that it was, of course, not a great showing, it wasn't the best of the best showing, but it was okay and it was something you can build upon?
yeah, for sure. I really feel like even though we lost, we made it competitive, and that's really important, because we're talking about the tier 1 teams at the moment and not anyone else.
Sure.
And if you're OG, you're happy, because at the moment we're like top 15 in HLTV, and if we're bringing the fight to the not like top 5 teams and even winning it on the first stage, or winning them, you must be happy. I mean, I know that we could have, you can always say could have, should have, whatever, and you could have played this situation differently, but matter of the fact is that those teams are just a level level higher than us, and they will win them more consistent. So you have to take what you can from those games, and have to understand that the margins are pretty slim. And if we learn from these mistakes, if we keep fighting, most likely we can level up a notch, and then we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah.
And right now, I am proud of the ESL League and how it went, and I'm really glad we made it to stage 2. And I'm just looking for the next tier 1 event.
Yeah, well, sounds like you have to wait a little bit for it, unless you sign up for one of those online tournaments. But I guess in these days, you know, you gotta take what you can get. Just a quick touch on that. How is it to be a player under these circumstances. I can imagine you, as a player who used to play in ENCE, used to be in the big stages, you miss traveling the world, you miss playing in the big stages, don't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Makes sense, makes sense. You know what, let's jump into the game. Just gotta make sure you guys can see what's on the screen. Aleksi, can you see what's on the screen right now?
Just a black screen for me still.
Just a black screen for you, that's not good. It's also just a black screen for you guys. So we do have some technical issues right here. It's not always...
Okay, now I can see.
Now you can see, and so should the
Can
viewers.
I'm just gonna get a 1 minute toilet break, alright?
Yeah, perfect, perfect. Well, I'll set up the scene for you guys watching out there then. 1 minute toilet break is more than we can excuse him for. We're gonna see OG taking on Fnatic on Dust 2. We have already spoiled it a little bit. It's a third map of this series. You can see up here on your screen, there's a star in each name, which means that both of the teams have won a map in this best of 3 series. Decider map, ESL Pro League. OG, they lose this game and they're out of the tournament. OG win this game and there's still a small hope for them to actually progress into the semi-finals of ESL Pro League. And as AleksiB said, this is a tier 1 tournament. This is no disrespect to Flashpoint or anything like that, but this is not a Flashpoint league where the tier 2, tier 3 teams fight it out for a trophy. This was the best of the best teams. They made it to round 2 and they made every single game competitive. So I think when AleksiB is saying that they can be proud of their performance, I think that's more than fair to say that's true. OG did super well. We're gonna focus a lot on AleksiB. We're gonna focus on the map Dust 2. So what's gonna happen is that I'm gonna ask him some questions. I'm gonna allow myself to be a little bit critical in terms of some of his decision makings. Of course, they're winning the map, so gotta be nice to him as well. Gotta give him some credit. But in general, what I hope to for you guys out there who are watching this right now, you guys to learn is the mind of an in-game leader. What is he thinking? What is he doing? What's the thought process going through his mind whenever he's in a 3 versus 3? Whenever he's in an after plan? Whenever he's dead in the beginning of the round? Does he still call, or is he just letting the other guys figure out what they want to do? I think having AleksiB on the show today can learn us an awful lot about how it is to be an in-game leader. I like to compare him with Glaive sometimes. He's a dude that leads by example. That means he's not the type of in-game leader who just stands back, does nothing, and wait for everyone else to join him. He's a guy that leads by example. Now he's coming back, putting on the headset, and I think we are more or less ready to go. So, AleksiB, we're gonna watch this demo. We're gonna focus on you, and as I just explained to the viewers as well, I'm gonna try as good as I can to be a little bit critical towards your decision making, but also try to pick your brain a little bit in terms of how is it to be an in-game leader, especially on a map like Dust 2. How is it to make the calls? When you're dying first in the round, is it the other guys who are making the calls? Are you still calling? Yada yada yada. So the whole goal of this is to learn as much as possible and hopefully pick your brain as much as possible. Now we're starting out in Dust 2. You're starting out on the T side, and we can roll out the demo right here. Should be working. You buy grenades in the beginning of the round. As the only players I'm aware of, Valde may or may not buy some grenades. What is the initial thought process of this pistol round? You must already by now know what it is you want to do.
Oh, let me see here, because I don't really.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, it's just an anti-finner, so we know fnatic and we know JW.
Sure.
He likes to push mid doors, so we just wait a couple seconds and peek middle if he gets caught off guard and just playing it slow.
Sure.
Nothing else to be said here. I think it's just a 3 cat too long, because usually when you're going to fight cat and you show the bomb, the people are on long are rotating already.
Yeah.
And as you can see from the radar, both of our long players got to kill them on the side, but just they didn't manage to kill them. So
sure. So the whole idea behind that is basically to drag the rotation away from long towards you guys, and the long guys are hitting afterwards. Yeah. Okay. So the good thing about this, we can fast forward a little bit. Doesn't seem like you're gonna win this round. You're dead. Bomb is gonna be defused, if I'm not mistaken. You're down 1-0. Now, you talked about you guys are struggling a lot against force buys. You guys are struggling a lot when you have guns and you're facing pistols. You're buying up in this round as well. Are you guys good at taking advantage of that yourself, or is it just all right?
I mean, decent. Not the level of Navi. Like I think they're the #1 team in that regard. Like.
Sure.
Drop a creek, I mean now it's nerfed obviously, but drop
sure.
a creek to simple or electronic and suddenly it's 4 on 5, like 5 on 4. So not sure do we win this, but
I have no idea.
But I'm saying these rounds are just they're so random because you cannot play them. As you can see, me and Isa most likely dropped. Yeah, we got deagles. I got a smoke. Isa didn't get any util. Nathan obviously has a scout, which is not something you see every day. So it's just a random round, so to say. But we're taking it easy. We're gathering information. We're talking about what we can do with this utility right here, most likely. And yeah.
We'll let it play out. So yeah. So you're doing a B split right here, right?
I remember this strat. So yeah, we did some kind of fake to get these guys out of middle, and they seem like they surprised the B players. Oh, now I remember. Yeah, there's a 3-on-3 on B sides, and you should convert this round every time.
Even with a smoke as well, to smoke down mid. You're even waiting for it.
Yeah, the only problem here is that Nathan has a scout. I'm not sure if he drops it for a rifle.
Okay.
But the fact is that he can only kill Flusha with 1 bullet, but he cannot really trade JW or Creams if we don't hit them. And if he misses 1 shot, the retake is over. I'm not sure what happens exactly.
You get Molotov out and then...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you managed 1 kill and then your teammate died as well. I'd agree with you, 3 versus 3 on B bomb side, especially with you having the smoke in hand, waiting for so long. Again, great to see, because I see so many pro players, whenever they get B side control, they just instantly throw all the...
Smoke,
exactly, like it's one of the most children mistakes you can think of, right? Because the retake isn't gonna happen like this, so you just wait, so you have the smoke for the entirety of the retake instead of it fading out. So that's a nice play by you. If we have to focus on you, you couldn't really have done much more in that position. You get 1 kill, get the other guy down to 20 HP, but
I didn't actually take... I did a lot of damage, I feel like, but I didn't get a kill. Mantuu probably got it. And then he couldn't get the second one, and the third was obviously... I mean, they got the man advantage by flushing out Nathan, so it was really hard.
Exactly, like the Molotov towards Nathan, having a scout in the hand, that was a rough one.
This was just an idea that we just get nades because we don't have money, we just smoke B. I know there was miscom of where we throw the nades, that's why you saw the nades all over the place. But shit happens, it was just a small eco, now we have a full buy.
Sure. And you playing the Creek? How do you feel about the Creek being nerfed?
Really glad. I mean, I saw the statistic. We were one of the teams that used Creek way like Furia had 20% of Creek usage. We had like 9.
Okay.
And G2 had the lowest. It was 5% or something.
Yeah. So you're down.
So we don't use it that much, honestly. But I felt like this game, because what I can remember was like this game already went for so long.
Yeah. And
the margins are so small. I mean, people are hitting their shots, whatever. And it's just the fact that, okay, now I'm gonna play Greek, like, whatever. We're like, this series has been going for so long. Just give me whatever you got,
Of course. This round is the first bar round in the game, and once again, it looks like...
I remember this.
You remember, yeah? You want to talk us through it?
I mean, here you can see the fact that I don't really care, because I know that in order to beat these teams, you have to surprise them.
Okay.
And if you surprise them, then they will play differently the rounds after. Yeah. So the play I make here was intentional, and I knew it works if you just have the confidence, and well, you can just play and see what happens.
Oh yeah, and it works. Perfect. Well, I guess you could argue you could have gotten the second kill, but that's all you could ever hope for in that situation, and you get control of the A-bomb side.
Obviously, if I die, people are like, that's the most stupidest play ever, and I could agree. I didn't even throw a flash when I went in. I just knew my team is coming out of long. I know that you have to get in, like, in their face, so to say.
Sure.
So...
But would you agree, like, and I want to go a layer deeper, I guess. Would you agree, you said it yourself, like, you're now doing a play like that, you're instantly gonna make them rethink how they play the CT side. They now have to be aware of you being that, that could do the unthinkable. Also, it comes down to the fact that, again, you talked about it in the pistol. The guys on long are already dragging a lot of attention. You guys are throwing smokes off short, right? And you are well aware there can only be 3 players towards that A-bomb side. So I guess the reasoning behind why you're allowing yourself to do that play, I think it's very important for people out there to understand. Everyone can think to themselves, okay, I'm going to jump CT spawn, see what happens. That doesn't make it a smart play, but you're setting up the conditions for it to succeed a little bit better with the pressure from long, with the pressure from short, and then you can allow yourself to do a risky play, right? So
yeah, and the thing is, like, the thing is the game is 0-3 for their favor.
Yeah.
The fact that if you do this at 13-13, then it might be a bit stupid.
Sure.
Because the game is so tight and the smallest mistake can cost it. But we're losing 3-0, and we need to set the tone, you know, for the game, for our playstyle. And if you catch their rotator player like this, which I did to Brolin, it's not the rotator, most likely it's the other B player. But if you catch him off guard, most likely he will play a bit more cautious next time, right?
Okay. So we don't see this often. Is this a play for you guys going into peak B, or do you want to go in B and basically take over the side? You're only 3 here, right? You have 1 guy towards long, you have 1 guy towards middle. So it's a bit risky only committing 3 players, or what's going to happen here?
Yeah, it's a bit like a momentum play in a way that we just peeked B, like let mantuu peek, we heard nothing. And what I said was like, because we want to flush out their utility if they have some.
Okay.
And I was just saying like I'm gonna flash over to bait out that we're walking out B, right? And if I'm not mistaken, they threw a smoke or they threw something at least.
Sure.
And by that we get the info that there's at least some people on B. And I'm not sure about the footsteps we heard, but yeah.
Sure. So again, there's a thought process behind it. Taking short control together, once again you're showing that you're actually capable of winning these rounds against
and that's just a normal reaction.
Yeah.
We knew that they saved a creek, and the creek died on short. We killed 2 people on short, and we knew people were on B.
Sure.
So the easiest reaction is to just run A side, because we know people are B and the creek is already dead, so
sure,
shouldn't be too much of a risk, and if we just like hit our shots, we will win the round.
But it's interesting, right? Because I think a lot of the players listening into this right now, they're not necessarily thinking that that's basically what you do as an in-game leader. You constantly, would you agree with, like, you're constantly trying to paint a picture inside your head in the middle of the round. Where are the players? Where can we go? Where are the loopholes? And how do we get there, right?
Let's say we flashed B and they did nothing and we heard 0 footsteps.
Sure.
If we kill those players or cat, maybe we don't run A, because we don't know if there's 5 there.
So it's all about gathering information and sort of painting the picture with the information gathered.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. Now you get off to a good start here. I would agree. You know, 3-2 T side is not too bad. Your economy is in a good state. You're now facing another buy round. Dust 2 is a bit, dare I say, boring in the sense that you can get away with playing 15 rounds and just doing a default with different variations. You guys seem to be doing a lot of defaults, but also trying to spice it up with, you call it momentum plays, you know, with explosive plays. Is that the way to go for Dust 2 right now for you guys, or is it changing all the time, you feel?
I mean, the flow has kind of worked for us, so that's why we just spammed it, I feel like, this game at least. We've just recently, we are probably moving or changing a bit of positions just for the dynamic of this team working even more properly.
Sure.
But at least this game, I think it's... Watching this game, it feels pretty good what we do here.
Yeah. Have you gone through this game as a team already?
This game as a team, not that much, because I remember like we played every day. We had a new opponent.
Yeah.
So we just needed to go through the big picture.
Okay.
For us to like not focus too much on each individual game, because we need to fix are the major things, you know.
Sure.
So small details don't really matter.
This is a great example of what I use to describe you when I'm doing my analysis work on events certain around the world, especially when you play it in ENCE. You seem to me to be an in-game leader that likes to lead by example. So I think this is a great example. You're the one out middle, you're the one faking, and you're the one setting up, I guess, the scene for the team in order for them to succeed going towards catwalk over here.
Yeah.
I guess you can agree with that sentiment. You do like to be in a position where you have a lot of responsibility, I guess. If you think of a map like Train, it's, at least in ENCE, it used to be you who rushed out of team main all the time and tried to create the space for your teammates. Do you feel comfortable calling from that position? Because sometimes, like, I don't know what's going to happen here, right? But you could potentially die and now you're dead and you have 4 teammates alive. If you were to die, you played your role already as an in-game leader. Is that okay with you? Or would you sometimes feel more comfortable if it was somebody else doing this job for you? Like, is it an active decision you're taking, or is it a decision you're taking because somebody has to do it?
It really depends on the situation, but I feel like I can do them both, because what this requires is if I die, they need to go out of cat immediately.
Yeah.
But the fact is that I'm calling them that wait 1 second, because I knew that Creams is gonna come back and I get the entry, and they're flying out. But the fact is, if I know, for example, Nathan is the first guy who's going in, I know they will go to the site.
Okay.
But it's only because I think like the mentality of Nathan, I could say me, is like we don't really care. You have to get the timing right to catch them off guard, and we just need to get the trade kills.
Sure.
And sometimes it's situational, sometimes it's I'm sending one guy to one place because I know that we have to hit the timing somewhere else and I want to be there. Or then it's exactly like this, that I want to be the guy who's kind of doing the job and the team does the rest.
Because you seem to be doing that a lot. Again, Train comes into mind, especially during your major one in Katowice. I did plenty of segments about you being the aggressive guy out of team main. You seem to thrive in the role where you do go in, you take some duels. Would you describe yourself as an aggressive player or more like a defensive player?
I mean both.
Okay.
I feel like I can be aggressive when needed, but I'm usually a guy who doesn't go for exits or goes for them if I have a bad weapon, so I can get grind some money, you know.
Sure.
That's the most obvious thing all people do. But most of the time I'm guarding the bomb, and usually when you guard the bomb, you can just think of stuff, and you can think of the next rounds and what's gonna happen. And by the way, here I cannot stress enough how much I was screaming rotate to A.
Okay.
But it's just the fact that sometimes if you're just a tiny bit off focus or focusing on what you're gonna do, for example, Isa and Valde tunnel visioning on B, and you can see how long time they
get to understand, yeah.
They get to understand the situation, and that's when it's already too late, because Isa dies here and drops the bomb, and Valde needs to pick it up, and it's not gonna go great.
Most likely not, no. Yeah, I see the problem right here, because you have A control completely, and that's obviously a good position to be in, and I guess you could argue that Valde and Isa could easily have won back from T-Spawn even if they wanted to. So is that, you talked about it a little bit before, you deal with some communication problems, and I think that's to be expected when you're playing on an international squad, right? It must be hard to speak in not your native language. You made the switch from ENCE into to an international speaking lineup. Did you feel comfortable right away, or did you have to learn sort of the first few months before you felt comfortable in the English setting?
For sure there was a learning process there. And the good thing is that, for example, that situation, like, we can talk about it and people understand it.
Sure.
That we need to react faster and whatnot.
Okay.
So
that was one of the things I talked to Nathan about as well. When you do talk to each other about mistakes, it seems like, of course, there's also some who are better than others, but they will, in general, the consensus is of your team that you're good at going over mistakes and actually fixing them. There's a lot of respect in between you guys, and I'm sure you can agree to the testament that that's super important if you want to get better as a team. You got to be able to find the mistakes and fix them, right?
Yeah. Not sure what happens here.
Looks like you're going for a B split again. If I have my critical glasses on, right, it's a little bit disjointed. You're up here by yourself. You have a guy down here, not with you. You have a guy in middle, not with you, and the bomb is not ready to go either with MBK. It seems a bit disjointed to me just by the overview. Yeah,
seems like so. Not sure what's gonna happen here actually.
Let's find out.
Doesn't seem too good. Oh no, yeah, this was good. Like right here, I'm fully smoked, but I'm visible to JW because I watched it on the VOD.
Okay.
And it seemed so stupid. Like, why was I standing there not doing anything? But I thought I'm in the smoke.
Yeah. And at that point, when you get a 2 versus 2, it's
yeah, it's kind of classic.
Yeah.
Even though you're at the minute disadvantage that you have the B side, you can easily convert it if you just hit a couple of shots, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I know it looked a bit disjointed, and it was, but in the end, it got us in a decent position.
But that's something you would probably go back and look at, right? And that's where you try to optimize, because yes, you are. Yeah, and I guess it's the same conversation I had with MBK. Even though, and I think that's a very important point to get across the world out there, especially to face it players. Even though you get a kill, or even though you win the round, doesn't necessarily mean you did the right thing or you did it perfectly fine, right? There's certain areas you can always optimize on. So I would assume that's a round you look back at and you think, all right, we won it. That's nice, but if we would have done it a little bit more clinically, we would have potentially wanted even more secure. We would have a higher chance of winning that round again and again and again.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Let's
take
see,
the first
they have
time out.
pistols, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be a hard round.
It's gonna be one of those. It seems, I talked to Nathan about it as well. You really do seem to struggle a lot against that. Now, I hear you both saying that. Do you think it's a confidence issue as well? Like, do you think that you already now have established yourself as a team that struggles against force buys, and by then you lack confidence in those situations?
For sure, it could be mental as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are so many players that can work with one single scout and can just get an entry, and then they can gamble stack or do many different things, small things that can just win the round. So that's like it's really hard sometimes to play against pistols.
Because I guess that's what's happening
yeah.
right here, right? It's a bit of a gamble stack, and you don't have any information whatsoever. You just
yeah. I mean, you could say again it was a bit disjointed. I mean, I'm not.
Mantu's not really ready to go with you at least for now. And
Mantuu was not ready, and not sure did Nathan die through a smoke or what happened, but
yeah, maybe.
I mean, we're not going at the same time, but still, we took advantage of the fact that usually people go through window, right?
Yeah.
But we knew that we killed a guy CT or B slope, and we smoked it off and took the risk that we can also use door. And when you go out of door and window, it's gonna make the B3 players really pressured.
Yeah, and I guess.
And even though they were kind of stacking, we won it.
And I guess it's because we both know that you don't want to go door, especially not if there's a guy in CT spawn with an AWP, for an example. You can always look over the smoke unless you double smoke. Against pistol, it's relatively safe to use the door, right? It takes a lot with a CC or with a USP or even with a deagle from that distance to punish you going through the door. So I guess that's another note for the guys out there, that you can use the door when you're facing anti-ecos, but watch out when you're in the buy rounds unless you double smoke CT spawn. You win this one, you're up 5 against 4, T-side and Dust 2. I don't know where you feel Dust 2 is at the moment, but I think it's a more or less 50-50 map where you... I guess it's easier to maintain momentum on the T side. It's easier to get 9-10 rounds on the T side than it is on the CT side. But would you just by pausing the demo right here, are you satisfied with being up 5-4, having money control against Fnatic at this state of the game?
No.
Okay.
We obviously want more because we know that you can win. You can lose the CT pistol, and if you lose the first gun round, it's gonna snowball heavy to the T's. So obviously more rounds, so we gain a lot of more comfort. And just for the 50-50 part, I know that maybe this creek change will change a bit, that maybe CTs can win more rounds, because I feel like it was maybe a bit more T-sided, just because of the fact that if the T's got a bit of a lead and played creeks, it was really hard.
Sure. And that's true, I guess. The creek was, especially on a map like Dust 2 with a lot of long range duels, it really came into momentum for that one. You go down, ENCE in a 1 vs 2. I don't remember whether he loses that one or not. He does. Now you're 5-5 and your money is not the best, not the worst, but as
you
I
really
hear,
need to win this round.
Yeah, as I hear you say, right, you don't feel comfortable. Like often you sit back in a game and you can think back and think to yourself, okay, the scores may be 5-5 or we're leading 5-4, but the majority of the rounds we should have won, or we're outplaying them but not really getting over the finish line. At this point, to me, I remember casting this game on Danish national television, and to me I felt this is a game that is wide open, right? Both of these two teams are not establishing any dominant sort of a momentum. So you as an in-game leader, do you ever think about it like that? Like, do you ever try to call certain things that is gonna force you guys to take momentum over the game, that is going to try to enable that for you? Like in terms of, like, we often talk about you change the pace sometimes, going from playing slow to fast. Is that something you consider when you're calling? Like, you want to go for a fast strat this round because you want to establish some momentum and yada. Yeah?
For sure. Especially at the start of the games.
Okay.
You see many people doing that, and us also. But you can... Usually when you're the leading team, you can always set the pace.
Okay.
And I think it's really good because it keeps the CTs guessing, especially if you do it on T side. You can obviously do it on CT. Especially, like, let's say you win the pistol, and on the first gun round you do something really aggro.
Yeah.
And you smash them. They have to play a lot of more careful at T side,
Sure. And that's basically the play we talked about before. You flash and let mantuu peek.
Yeah. I felt the flash obviously, but we just wanted to. Oh yeah, we want to do this triple boost, and we're doing it not the best way possible. You could go way more to the left, I feel like.
Okay.
And mantuu just falls off the edge, and maybe Golden had the right idea to spam us here.
Yeah, I think he heard the sound cue. We often talk to you as an in-game leader that is super good at mid-round calling, right? You're good at adjusting throughout the rounds. Just to ask you straight out of the box, would you agree with that sentiment? Are you good? Are you better when you're in the middle of a round and you can then adjust on the fly, or are you more the type of in-game leader that likes to have a certain plan that then stick to that plan no matter what happens in the round? Because I guess
I feel like every player in this game like could be a lot better mid game.
Okay.
And that's obviously something. Oh, you can see a big nade now. Look at our HP.
Ouch.
Yeah. I feel like we win this round, yeah, because mantuu kills JW and we just need to react on running A, because we knew that we don't have too much map control and we just need to capitalize on JW's death.
Yeah.
And I feel like we win this round.
Is that you? Is that you who makes that call? Is that you saying go, 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 go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not mantuu, it's not somebody else, it's you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we've gone through those kind of things on the server as well, so...
Okay. So the team is well aware if you get a guy in a certain position, in a certain circumstance, then
but going back to the mid-game thing, I mean, that's something I want to always improve. I know that I can prove my mid-game calling.
Okay.
I feel way more comfortable having a set plan of the spawn.
Okay.
But it really requires also that if you need to abort the plan, that people also know what their responsibilities are. Because let's say that I'm aborting a plan on B. We wanted to do a B explosion and aborting it. That Valdi knows that, okay, my job is to hold long doors. So if we're aborting, I need to go back now and check it if they have pushed. Or give AleksiB the info that they could be inside it and we need a flash here or something like this, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's not like... It's sometimes hard to go for a mid-round call because the enemy could have pushed something for really good information. And even though you have a good mid-game plan, suddenly it becomes the worst because they pushed for info.
Sure.
You know? So you have to keep many things in the back of your mind that could have happened and try to eliminate those and then go with the new plan.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. And it's a very valuable lesson for the viewer. It seems like you guys are upping the pace a little bit right here, right?
Yeah.
You're up 7-5 and you're upping the pace. You're catching off, is that Crimps and Golden towards short?
And I trade Golden and I feel like we'll lose this round even though we should win it.
Yeah, I mean at this point, right, you're 4 against 3.
I remember this. It's like I feel like this call and everything we did here was perfect.
Okay.
But I just don't know how the way kill JW. Like I want you to look at JW's POV soon.
Yeah.
Like change it right now. Okay, change it. I'm gonna go through this. Just keep it playing.
Yeah.
Let's see. You can watch the radar. Yeah, we take short here. I think we might fake A smokes.
Okay.
Let's see.
Smoke goes down.
Yes. We threw double A smokes like the Abangar smokes and we're just holding.
Yeah.
And look now, I'm pretty sure I tell Nathan to go B. Yeah, exactly. So nothing's happening on A, Nathan is going through B. Now check JW once he get the contact. Like check him. Now he's like, okay, it's B. And he starts moving to nowhere and we go out and don't kill him.
Oh yeah.
You know, if we kill JW in that position where he thinks it's B, but he just he plays it great.
And that's a
we don't kill him, and suddenly we seem like a really bad team where we could have just as well killed him. And
that's a fantastic example, right? Because as you said, you did everything correct right there. You made a plan, you stuck to it. It worked out fine. JW got lured out in an open position, and you're right. You should have killed him at some point, right? Maybe you can argue that he could have gotten 1 kill, but getting away with 3 right there and staying alive, that's not good enough in terms of the aim department. But that's a great example of how you can make the perfect call, I guess, and it still just doesn't go your way. As a caller, how frustrating is that? I could imagine that's one that's gonna sting in the arm.
For sure, when you know it's so easy, yet it's so hard.
Yeah. I could definitely imagine that. 7-6 again, still a relatively close half. I guess you're not feeling comfortable at this point either.
Yeah. I mean, at least we get a really good buy. Not exactly sure what happens on this round, but we'll see.
We'll see, yeah. Seems like your default again. And I guess Dust 2 is a map that it's like you can run your default if you want to, right? You can be aggressive on the CT side. They can try to contest you towards dark or contest you towards short. But apart from that, there's not really a lot of stuff the CTs can do to be aggressive. So how comfortable are you calling a default 15 rounds in a row? I guess you could do that if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could do that, but it requires you to have the money for AWP.
Sure.
Creeks always help, like before the patch, to guard some angles.
Okay.
But you really need flashes and an AWP to pull it off, because otherwise, if the enemy has AWP or a double AWP who's peeking middle, like you're feeding entries.
Okay. Okay. So what's gonna happen here is that you now move yourself up to top middle. You flashed out a teammate, and we're still looking at a round where you haven't really decided whether you want to go A or B just yet.
You can see from my movement, like I'm. Oh, okay. You can pause it here.
Yeah.
This is a. We picked it up from. I think it was G2 who did it against us on practice, I feel like.
Okay.
But you do a molly that doesn't spread to the left side, and you can run from the left.
Okay. So if we go.
Like if you check Isa's POV.
Out toward middle here, yeah. So you can go on the left on it, yeah.
Yeah. And then, if the CT player is not ready, you can easily punish him.
Okay.
But right here, mantuu got the trade kill, and the A rotators are so far away, because they are scared to come through middle because of the AWP presence.
Sure.
And we got a 3-on-2 after plant. We should win this.
That makes sense, and I think for the untrained eye, they'd probably call, oh, you failed a Molotov, but there was a meaning with the Molotov, right? You wanted to go on the left side and actually use it as a, let's say, tactical weapon in order to learn the map. That's super cool to see, and I think again, gotta probably testify to the fact that a lot of the viewers out there watching right now may not play Counter-Strike at a super high level. So small tricks and small ideas like that, definitely something you can implement in your own games. 8-6 now, you're winning first half, Dust2 against a team like Fnatic. Again, we can easily agree that OG against Fnatic, there's a clear favorite right here. You must feel somewhat confident the fact that you're able to win the half on the third deciding map on Dust2, or still not satisfied.
I mean, if you win this round, you get comfortable, because you know that if they win the pistol on T side, most likely they're not gonna still like be winning.
Oh, you're already dead. You know? Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Just that to realize you went down to JW.
I'm sure we probably had money for double up, and I had the best spawn for long, and I wanted to take a pick, and JW had the best spawn as well, and won me on the one-on-one.
So I was talking about it before, in a round like this where you go down instantly, now you're dead.
Yeah.
Do you let it, like, is it MBK who's taking over the calling, or is it you with the overview who's still trying to call them around, or how does that work?
It's still me. It could be the players as well if they find some gaps and find good plans.
Sure.
Here I just remember Isa saying that he wants to go out of B, and I just didn't say anything, and he gets smashed by.
Yeah.
Oh, and we even win it, yeah.
Yeah.
So the team had a plan to go out of cat when Isa is doing this, and they found entries. So.
Great. It's just
suddenly it's an easy round where it was an impossible one.
But that's the thing with Dust2 as well, right? It spins out of control so fast, and we saw before you made the correct call, you completely outplay Fnatic, and still you lost a round, and then you can get outplayed, but still win the rounds as well. I guess that's the, not necessarily, if I'm sure it's the charm about Dust2, but that's the reality, right? Where there's a map that can easily go both ways. You're winning 9-6.
Alright, let's see.
Let's see, pistol round.
I'm pretty sure this is a pistol where me and Volder buy nades.
Okay. Let's just...
Never mind, it's not. Volder did it. Auto kill already.
Okay.
Let's see what we do here.
Yeah. How much do you use, watching back at... you watch this video yourself, you said? Yeah. How much do you do that? Do you do that for every game, or is it just for certain games you want to watch?
I do it most of the games. Yeah, I mean, I do it, I could say 90% of the time, and the rest 10% could be frustration, or could be the fact that I knew exactly what happened and I don't need to see it anymore, or it could be the fact that we play with a terrible mood overall on TeamSpeak, and just watching the VOD won't help it. Like, we need to fix something else before we go back to it, so...
Okay, because I
most of the time I do watch.
I played with him myself, for example, and he had a thing where he didn't want to watch, like if he lost a close game or if he lost a final, he just didn't want to watch it because it would be too mental taxing. It's not like your final against the Stratis, for example, at the major in Katowice. Is that a game that you don't want to watch, or is it a game that you've seen plenty of times to understand what went wrong?
So if we lose some close games, I might not watch them straight after, but like
Sure.
a while after, just
Okay.
because of the recent MSL game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was me and Nathan who threw the nades.
Okay.
And we got JW to 19 HP, and they react obviously to running B because they think that we are. They thought that we are 3 long as we were, so they want to abuse the long rotations. But our B players did a good job of holding them back.
Sure. And you're most likely winning this pistol. At least I hope for the sake of your mental health, you're winning this one. There you go. And you're now up 10-6. You're winning the first pistol on the CT side. You mentioned it yourself. It is super, super important, right? Winning that CT pistol, not going down, not having to face the first buy round with less money.
And they force. Let's see what happens.
They force, yeah.
Again, the hard round comes up.
You remember this one, or you're just afraid?
I actually. Oh, I remember. Yeah, I think they're just taking duels and losing.
Okay.
I think this round was fairly convincing.
Okay.
But it's the fact that they didn't get the bomb plant, so they don't have dropped weapons or they don't have too much util, so
sure.
Always a lot harder.
So what's your logic behind that? If you get the bomb plant in the first round, for example, on the T side on does 2, you want to save, or you want to buy still?
You can buy still, because you can drop 2 weapons, and especially when the creeks were super strong, it was always strong.
So we're gonna see
so
less.
Now they're gonna triple smoke A right now. And I feel like they're gonna come off cat, every one of them. No one is jumping spawn, and I think mantuu is killing them all with FAMAS. Actually, one jumped into spawn, but mantuu is still killing them all. I'm just hiding here because most of the time when people come through cat, they're aiming at the default box or the A ramp.
Yeah.
And you just want to hide so much that they think no one is here, and then you just pop out with MP9 and kill them.
Sure. And that's basically exactly what happened. So good for you. Good for you in that regard. 11-6. You're winning the pistol rounds. You're now up against a full NG eco, and despite being, let's say, terrible at winning the force buys, you must feel comfortable against just Glocks, right? It's still not that bad. Yeah. That's good.
I just wanted I just wanted to take some I wanted them to play the B rush out, so they're not rushing B with Glocks and doing something like winning a lucky round.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to go middle to gather info, and I'm nading Palm because I'm not playing A. So the only thing they could do is run cat, and we have only 2 on A. But when I naded Palm, I'm denying them, and I think I got them to low HP as well.
Yeah, okay. So even in a round like where you know you're just facing Glocks, there's still a lot of thoughts that goes in behind it. I think that's, again, a very valuable lesson to some of the newer players out there, that just because you're playing against pistols, still take it seriously, because they can be extremely dangerous. In a round like this, you're up, and that's something I often discuss, and I would like your perspective on it as well. Your money right now are looking pretty goddamn good. You got 2 MP9s, you got 2 FAMASs, but you're facing SG, you're facing AK, you're facing SG, you're facing AKs. Do you ever think about forcing up? Like, do you ever think about, okay, now we take momentum, we take over this game, we're going to win it out 16-6, and we're just going to finish it off right here? Or do you always just keep the MP9s, keep the FAMASs, and just play it as a bonus round?
You usually want to keep the MP9s, and I'm just gonna go ahead here. Like, I was 100% sure what they're gonna do.
Okay.
Like, the first gun round comes up, and I feel like their favorite thing is to go A as a group because they have good weapons and shit.
Yeah.
But I just had the feeling that they're gonna come B because they are just mind games. They are expecting us to expect they come A, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I know that we have weaker weapons, that it's sometimes with these weaker weapons to gamble B.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they do an A fake and they come to B, but I'm pretty sure as well that we had a plan here. I'm 100% sure we had a plan here.
Mm-hmm.
And when they actually came, we didn't do the plan we had.
Okay.
And I don't remember the exact reasons why. All I know is we didn't have the plan, and we end up looking like really bad team play here.
Okay.
So if we're 3 on B side and kind of turtling it, and they come late round, you should be winning this.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't like the fact that you're down here middle by yourself. That's
yeah.
I think you're moving back as well. There we go.
Yeah, and we used the way we use our utility, because you can see right now, like, Isa has smoke molly. I have molly nade. Like, we could have easily won this, but it
Sure.
just.
So let's see what goes wrong, right? Let's see what the hurdle is, because you're right, they were trying to fake A, they're now coming out with a B split, I guess.
And I guess they eat this nade as well.
That's a good nade.
Roland does. They're not spotting, I know they're coming now. And by now we already messed up like what we needed to do in terms of utility, I just remember. And this molly keeps them off, but Isa is out of position for JW.
Yeah.
It's even 3-on-5 right now, and then we fail it, I remember. Because, yeah, you could see like, when Roland killed Isa, he can easily kill Nathan, and Nathan was only watching tunnel, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm facing Krieg with an MP9 on car. So it just goes to show like our idea was good, but how we executed this was really poor.
Yeah, because you had
and
the
I
right
remember we already talked about this.
Okay, yeah, because you had the right idea. I think your position with the MP9, that was not optimal either, right? I don't know if you would have wanted to stay side instead. Would it be fair to say that, or are you okay with the position?
I honestly don't remember. I just remember that we spoke about what utility we're gonna throw, and we didn't throw them, and we were all out of position.
Okay, yeah. Because I mean, we saw you sit with an MP9, having to hold a window from that distance. That's not optimal, to say the least. That being said, though, as I was talking about before, it is a bonus round now. This is quite interesting to me. Is this a mistake, or is it on purpose that you guys have 3?
This was a mistake.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Because that was not supposed to happen, I assume.
I'm pretty sure. We talked about double up setup, and we didn't, or something happened that we didn't say who are buying the double up, and I thought Nathan and Isa both wanted to be the double up, and this happened. So.
Okay. Do you have a dedicated secondary op on your team, or is it depending on the map?
Depending on the map, and yeah, depending on the map usually.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I remember you guys winning this round actually, because I was sarcastic the game and I was like, what on earth is going on here? But pretty sure you end up winning the round. Right now you give them long control, and by then you hold short control. I guess that's principles in Counter-Strike. If you give up long, you take short, and vice versa.
Yeah, I don't remember exact. Oh yeah, this was the round where I do the double wall. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, I saw them failing their smoke.
Yeah.
And I just instantly thought that I'm gonna do a wall of smokes to get into car.
Okay.
And it really messed them up. I mean, they even molly me, and Golden is in the smoke, so he probably didn't hear me taking a tick here.
Yeah, I was surprised. He should have heard you, right? But he didn't.
Yeah, but even if he hurt me, it's really hard to kill me here. And then I even got a flash, and I should kill this third guy maybe.
Sure.
See, if I had an M4, maybe it's easier, but it's just small things. Like, they failed their smoke, and I tried to take advantage of it, and I...
Sure. That's something I wanted to bring up as well, because you yourself personally have been pretty rough to your individual performances as of lately. I think this was honestly a great example that in a position like that you probably should have gotten 3 kills. What is it that is missing in your play right now from you to be the AleksiB we see often, you know, in good shape, to the AleksiB that is struggling a little bit right now? Is it just a bad period? Is there something mentally? Can you try to put some words on that maybe?
I mean, it's hard to say, because you can find a lot of excuses.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I think, and we've been even talking about it, but I feel like... Wait, what's gonna happen here? Oh, nothing. I think one of the major things are that if you don't feel, or you feel like you have to talk too much, or you feel like there are still so many small things that could be easily implemented in your game to make it so that you have to say one word and people understand what's gonna happen.
Sure.
And not say explain everything down to the wire, and for everything to run smoothly. I think those are the things, and we're gonna really use time these weeks we have to implement a lot of small stuff that can be easily said in one word, and we don't have to explain a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So that's something I could say that might affect my game. That, for example, if I compare to ENCE, I could say things really simply, and people understand what I mean, and people understand what to do.
Okay.
Whereas with this team, I feel like some things I need to talk way more, you know?
Yeah. Would you say it's simply just more stressing for you to manage this team at the current state, right?
I honestly don't feel like so too much.
Okay.
But if I just compare, or if you compare like statistics, maybe it could be.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the heat of it, and I have been doing it for so long that I don't really think about it. Like, I just talk if I feel like I need to talk.
Sure.
But then when I hear about the other guys, Creams is just so aware here.
Yeah.
I think he heard the jump, but I think when I hear my teammates or my coach when I'm talking to him, they are giving me these ideas, and I feel like when I compare my time in ENCE, for example, I could agree with them. Like, yeah, it wasn't exactly like this, and we need to work with it.
Let's pause here, right? Because you're leading 14-8 now, third in deciding map. You're facing a force buy of fnatic. I am pretty sure that we can conclude now that you will agree with me that this is a game you 100% should be able to win. If I'm not mistaken, this game gets close. Is that, as an in-game leader, do you think, is there any faster way of closing out a game? Do you think about it too much, or do you just continue the style you're playing already and hope that's enough? Or is there some thoughts going into it, right? Because you just need 2 more rounds here. Are you starting to gamble more? Are you starting to make different calls, or do you just keep at it? What is the thought process behind having a lead like this against a team like fnatic?
I wouldn't say that we don't really overthink it. I just know that maybe in these moments things are just like, I mean, the pressure kind of gets to you, and you're like, yeah, we are really close to winning a top. What are they, a top 3 team or something like this?
Yeah.
And now we just need to close it, and maybe just the smallest mistake could do it. Here, me and Isa fail in a sense that I'm calling what I heard, and I heard 2 players. And we didn't hear too many. I'm not sure whose fault is it. Maybe we should talk to Nathan about using equipment, but all I'm saying is we over-rotate for them to be all cat.
Okay.
And they are attacking one player on B, and just now Isa is running to B, but they're already coming through, right? Yeah. And yeah, I mean, Isa gets kind of unlucky. If he kills Screams there, look at where the rest are. Yeah. Like, they were back in tunnel. Yeah. And but it's just really small things. And by them winning this round with a small buy, it also means that they make it a lot harder for us to close it, right? Sure. Because we cannot buy here, or I'm not sure if we're forcing, maybe?
It seems like a semi-savior.
Yeah. So we should have won this round, but they played it good as well to fake short. Okay. And that we got 2 of us like out of position. Sure. And they exploited B. Is that a general problem you guys have? Do you feel like, are you a team that is having a hard time closing out games, or is it just, natural course of Counter-Strike? I mean, we have problems closing out games when we have made the comeback. I mean, the last we have played like 2 series, and we're losing a lot. And we bring the game to like, we have the match point even like 15-14. Sure. And then we get to overtime, and then we lose it. Okay. So when we come back, maybe then we have problems closing it out. But usually when we are leading, like here for example, I think we've yet to really lose it actually. Okay. Which I guess must be a nice thing, you seem like you have enough problems to worry about for now. 14-11, at what point do you start getting nervous here? Or at any point? Are you still comfortable that you're going to close out this game, or are you a little bit nervous now? I'd still say confident that we're going to close it. Not sure what the idea here was. That's interesting. Yeah, you go B2. Oh yeah. It was, maybe we were just predicting that they tried to come long, and we wanted to have a stack long. Yeah. Oh, and they double naded me even. Yeah, I remember. They double naded because that's what you expect when the guy on B comes. He smokes because he doesn't want them to rush, and he goes close. Sure. If they rush, he can mow them down. Okay. So they do a counter for that and double nade it, and I'm lucky I survived with 1 HP, and you can see me here playing the most passive angles ever, so I cannot die to nades. Yeah. And here, by the way, oh yeah, that's kind of interesting. I know you cannot go back, but you can pause for a second. Like, yeah. They know that I'm really low HP B because they double naded, and they knew I was shooting close. Okay. So they knew that the B player is low. Okay. But then I rotated to CT with a flash, and they didn't see me. So they still assume I'm B with low HP. Okay. Then I smoked B, so they know there is one guy B because we used the smoke. Sure. But then I told Nathan to come out of B, don't use his smoke in B, because they could be just waiting for the smokes to extinguish.
Okay.
So I told Nathan to come and smoke mid doors. Because if you smoke mid doors at this moment, they might think that we are rotating maybe even a third player on B.
Okay, yeah.
Because you smoke mid doors, right?
Sure.
So I wanted Nathan to smoke mid doors as a fake, for them to think that maybe we over-rotate to B, because they know one of our B players is weak.
Sure.
And I am not sure, maybe this didn't have any affection on them, maybe they didn't even think about it at all. But maybe they did, maybe they thought that mid smoke allowed us to rotate towards B, and they came A and we were 4A.
Okay. That's insanely smart. You know, when you say it like that, it makes sense, because you're right, that mid-door smoke, that is basically denying them the information, denying them the vision, whether or not you rotate towards B, so that could play into the fact that you're now seeing them going towards A. I guess the only way we can find out is by asking Fnatic, but the theory behind it is super smart.
Yeah, but I know for a fact that many people play with these mid-door smokes, and that's a really good example how you can play with their minds. Obviously, maybe it didn't affect them at all.
Sure. And
Broran kills me here. He's not even checking. I feel like as soon as he glances back, he can see my shadow coming out, so he comes back to me. But still, we were 4 on A, and it's pretty easy, even though I die.
Yeah, that's perfect, and I think you can attest that to that call. It makes, you know, it's fun for me, because it makes super much sense. You know, that you always. Like, you always, if you have an AWP, you said it yourself, on the T side, you can get so much information just by spotting the mid doors, right? You're constantly aware whether there's 1, 2, or 3 guys towards B just by pointing your AWP towards the mid doors. So having a guy standing down there and at least listening into it, you basically deny them that vision, and hopefully that's, or most likely, that's what's going to force them into to going towards A, which you were ready for then. Now, long, they're going to take it, you're not going to contest it?
Just saying right here, I'm 100% sure, like, pause here.
Okay.
I'm 100% sure, like, this play would have worked, but I made steps mid doors.
Okay.
I'm so sure that this guy on lower, I'm not sure who is he, but he heard me.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, Brolan, I'm really sure that he heard me stepping, because look at the way he plays.
Yeah.
And then look at the long players. For example, like, if you can spectate Creams here.
Yeah.
He's already checking behind, and it's 135, right?
Yeah.
No one is checking behind at this moment unless you have some kind of info.
Exactly.
I would say. I could be wrong.
No,
it could be that he's just like smart. But I feel like now they're faking some long control, right?
But I remember this clearly, right? Because you're in a good position right now, and I was surprised
and I'm not doing anything, right? Because they fake long equipment. I remember they fake something too long.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting. Nothing else. We can see what happens here.
I was pretty surprised when casting the game when I saw you decided to not push in, right? Because I was about to give you a lot of credit for being super smart, because that's one of the mistakes you see a lot by some of the more inexperienced players. If they get all the way up here, it takes a lot of self-control, dare I say, to stop up and realize that now you find yourself in a super good position, right? You're well aware there's 3 or 4 guys towards long, and you have them sort of locked in, I guess. So not pushing the boundaries is something that takes a lot of control. It's the same with Banana and Inferno, for example, not pushing all the way down. At this point, though, you feel comfortable going in.
Yeah, I think I missed it, but they threw something.
Okay.
At first they threw something at long just to fake something out, or at least that's what I remember. Maybe flashes or Molly's car, and then they redo them. So they re-smoked or mollied, and in my mind I'm like, okay, now they're actually going in.
Sure.
But I'm pretty sure it was only to fake this flank. I mean, bait out this flank.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Creams was so aware. Maybe it's just his game sense.
But
it could be just as well. Yeah, it could be just as well him baiting me out to this moment. Yeah. And it's really well played by them.
I think you're spot on, right? Because Brolan was sitting down in lower dark for that entirety of the time as well, just holding that angle. So they must have known that you were pushing somewhere towards top middle.
Could be.
So perfect play.
And then
you know,
they just pick us apart, I think.
Sure. That's what I like about you as a player. You know, that's why you're entertaining to watch. The fact that you are at 15-11 and you're not afraid of making such an aggressive play. Do you think that? Would it be fair to say that you don't really get affected by that pressure? Like, you play the same way, whether it's 6-6 or 15-14?
I could say so. Yeah, I mean, definitely, but I do feel like on LAN, it's even, at least previously, I even had way more confidence doing those things.
Okay.
So, for example, like, I've been to many lands, even though not many international, but like Finnish lands and whatever.
Sure.
And I've just had the feeling that on land I'm feeling confident every time.
Okay. We just saw you guys take, I think that was the first timeout, or maybe it was the second timeout in this game.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem
Not
like
sure.
you guys use a lot of timeouts. And I asked Nathan about the same question just to make you aware. And he said that one of the areas that he could improve on is potentially taking more timeouts. You being the in-game leader, do you feel that, does that have to come from you, or is it the coach that has to step in and say, all right, we need a timeout right here?
Both? I think both, because sometimes you're so into the game that you are just talking in the freeze times and talking when the round ends and getting things out, and trusting that we will win the next. Okay. And sometimes you miss the big picture, that maybe people getting a breather in, so just a tiny bit longer freeze time will help the team. So it's both. I think with coaches it's easy because they can always see the big picture.
Sure.
But yeah, I can definitely improve in that part.
Okay.
And right now we're just taking chances with flashbang. Not much to do.
Nah, it's a full USP round. I guess that you were up, what is it, 14 to 8, and now it's 15-13. Is this a point where you think to yourself, this is getting too close?
But now we have a good round. I think.
Okay.
Me and Isa do a flash play middle because we know they're running down suicide.
Okay.
So I'm jumping for info.
Yeah.
I see them running. I flash for Isa. He takes an easy kill.
Okay.
Look, I jump here. I see them running. I'm flashing. Boom, boom, boom. Free entry for us. We fall back, and right now it's already default. Their default is ruined. Okay. So now they have to climb back this round. And I'm pretty sure I just take my chances when I see another kill coming up shortly.
Okay.
I think Nathan kills him through the tunnel smoke, or Isa does it. Okay. Yeah. So right now I'm just thinking in my head that most teams will walk out middle. Like exactly what happens, and I really thought about this. And if you pause it right here,
sure.
I'm yelling to Isa that watch out that they don't kill you window, because that's I can only commit when they actually come out, right?
Sure.
And I didn't tell it to Mantuu. So Mantuu gets surprised, he's watching only cat. And I think JW peeks the whole way into car and kills him.
Okay.
But they don't know I'm here, so I can still, like, I still should win the round for us. But it's my mistake here that I'm only speaking to Isa and I'm not saying a single word to Mantuu, and Mantuu dies because of it. So I just said instantly after game sorry to Mantuu, because I usually think that on these moments I can talk to individuals about what they need to be careful about.
Sure.
And here I just tunnel visioned on Isa, and you can see he's not jumping on window at all. Okay. And you can see how this round goes. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's have a look at Mantuu, right? Because that's the guy you didn't communicate properly enough for. That being said, though, I like the way you're playing it, and you're right. There seems to be a tendency about players going out middle. He spawns towards catwalk, JW walking all the way out. That takes.
Or maybe it's actually someone else. It's a Krieg, yeah.
Okay.
It's a Krieg.
There we go.
But right now they're already committed and they're not expecting me here, right? Because I have yet to peek. Yeah. So I kill one player and I don't peek anymore. I shoot it at the box because I know that our teammates are coming and they cannot watch all the angles.
That's perfectly played. Yeah, fantastic. Let's head out of the game. Let's get back into the one-on-one session. I think this was a great example of. There was a few good examples, right? You. Especially the mid-smoke door thing. I think that's for a lot of teams out there, especially at a high level. If you're a face-it player, if you are trying to accomplish something as a team, look out for small tendencies like that. The last round right here, I think that's a great example of communication, right? Where you do communicate properly to the guys that are involved. But I remember that, I as a personal player, I didn't perform well unless I knew what everyone was doing on the map. I couldn't paint my own picture when I was playing unless I felt that everyone around me was communicating properly. So I guess that's a big part of that as well. You admitted to your mistake, and despite it not being like, it's not a mistake, but it's something you could have done better. You could have met him aware, He could have potentially, figured it out himself that there's a reason why he's telling Isa not to jump the window. But again, that comes with understanding. Looking at a game like this, you seem to be pretty aware of what was going on. You watched the VOD yourself, you said. Are you satisfied with a win like this? 16-13 against a team like Fnatic. You did make a few mistakes, but you didn't lose any ENCE ecos, at least not a lot of them. And you did play a good game of Counter-Strike. As an in-game leader, do you sit back and feel this was a great game, I called well, and sure we can do things better, but I'm satisfied?
I do feel like so, and especially because we still had a shot at the second stage,
Okay.
and Fnatic was dominating every team, I feel like.
Yeah.
And by us having a shot on the second stage still, it meant that we still had kind of like some pressure, you know?
Yeah.
Because let's say that we would have already been out of the second stage, and the rest of the games kind of doesn't matter. At least maybe for prize money it does, but not for the sake of us getting into the finals.
Sure.
So we still have the stakes in this game.
Sure.
And even if it's a win, whether we could be make it to the finals or a win that we cannot, any win against the top 5, top 10 teams always important. And yeah, I mean you can only be proud of it. I'm sure that in some of these games maybe the enemy doesn't play up to their standards, but just as well we have won more than one game against good teams, and it cannot always be the case that oh, this team has a bad day and again OG has a good day. So it's kind of contradicted to each other. I feel like sometimes we play really decent and we just have to find the consistency.
Sure. Have a few questions from the chat if you're down for it. 5-10 minutes and then we should be done. There's a guy asking called James Castle, I believe. Can you ask why did you choose to become an in-game leader? And I can follow up with that. Was that something that you always felt like you were going to do, or was that something you were sort of like forced into doing back in the Harvard times, or have you always been a natural leader, sort of?
I could say I've always been a natural leader, so it's never been even a question or a difficulty. I'm playing with my real-life friends. Even before I joined Havu, I had teams where I played with my real-life friends. And I was just the guy that said what we're gonna do on certain rounds and what the plan is gonna be. So I've never even thought about it for a second. That it's just being there always. I like to be the voice. I like to be the guy who guides or has tactics, or like is a nerd, so to say. We play a new game. I'm usually thinking of ways to abuse or ways to go somewhere together. I'm not the guy who's just playing the game and running around killing people. So it's just been there always.
Another guy is asking in the chat called Dark Hades. What do you think is the reason of OG losing in a lot of the qualifiers? I think we have touched a little bit upon it, but you don't feel comfortable enough, you know, in terms of your consistency to perform at those qualifiers?
As I said previously, I think it's mental in a way that when you join a server that has a top 5, top 10 team, you have something in you to show it now and to fight for the win, everything. And then you join a server which has a top 25 or top 30 team. You might approach it the wrong way, and all of a sudden you're losing 0-6, and you're starting to think that you might lose to an underdog. Obviously, again, I'm gonna say it, I'm over exaggerating, so it's not like we actually think this way. It's just something that is really hard to pull off against every team to get your 100%. But you always talk about it with the team, and you always talk about that you could have done better, this individual could have done better. But to be fair, we're still losing a lot of stupid crowds. We'll still, if you watch our VODs, there are stupid shit that is happening. I'm not gonna deny that, and that's something we try to fix. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, as I said previously, I'm gonna put ourselves in the middle. We can beat good teams, we can also lose to very, I wouldn't say bad teams, but teams that shouldn't beat us. So underdogs. And it's up for us to show that this time we're gonna put in work, where we don't have officials, that we're gonna try to work on our consistency and our communication and everything as a whole. And what should come out of it is that we are finding more consistency of beating teams that we should beat.
Makes sense. I personally have a question for you. When I do some of my work on the analyst desk, I like to compare it to Glaive a lot. I always felt that ENCE was somewhat similar to Astralis in terms of the way you approach the game. It was with obviously being very strategical. It was having fundamentals, down to the nitty gritty communication as well. You could see how you maneuvered off and around each other. As an in-game leader, I like to compare you in the sense that I think I've said this already, that you like to lead by example, right? You can't be the guy going out first. You can't be the guy faking a bomb site by yourself, or you can make the aggressive plays that nobody else is gonna make because you have a vision for it, you have an idea for it, and Glaive does the same. So the question is to be more specific. One, can you see that there's a little bit of you in Glaive and vice versa? And two, is there any in-game leaders out there that you've been looking up throughout your career that you've taken inspiration from? And if that is the case, had that been Glaive or is it somebody else?
I think there has not ever been a singular in-game leader I've only looking up to.
Okay.
I think I've looking a lot into Carrigan, I've looked a lot into Glaive, and it's because I like their playstyles a lot. For example, like I never looked too much about Navi, because I mean Navi with Zeus. They were a really sick team, but their playstyle was just completely different. They played really slowly, and they played a lot out of their star players to open up the map. And that just wasn't the way I usually played, so I'm always looking up to leaders or teams that play kind of a similar playstyle, which is easy to implement into your game if you see something cool. And as for Glaive, I'm not gonna say go ahead and say compare us two. I'm only gonna say like those examples you gave, I could see them having the same things. Obviously, Glaive as an individual or as a performer, he plays really solid, and sometimes his impact is really going under noticed. When I watch his spots or I watch an Astralis game, like some plays he sets up or baits or things he can do with an SMG where he drops an AK to someone else, or like it's no wonder that the Astralis team has been so consistent of like being the #1 team so long time. And as you said, like even when they play the worst CS, they're still considered really strong, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So not gonna take away anything from that one, but all of these good leaders have some ways they have affected me, but most of the time it's the leaders that have somewhat of a similar playstyle.
Okay, I got two more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. First and foremost, Vertigo, not part of your map pool at the moment?
Yeah.
Why?
It's just the fact that it wasn't the map pool for me when I played on ENCE.
Okay.
For some players in our team, it wasn't in the map pool for them when they ended, like when they joined OG. Sure. So it was just natural to go with, because we were a super young team, that we just go with what was comfortable for us.
Okay.
But to be honest, like now when I saw the new change on Vertigo, and I even saw G2 play on it against Godsend, yeah. I felt like the map is actually not too bad anymore. I thought it was a super bad map, but now some of the things make sense, some of the waypoints make sense, the rotations don't seem so sloppy because they closed out some parts, and you can only see like if we might pick it up at some point, but I think it's improved since the day it got released.
Sure, I would definitely agree with that. It's constantly changing right now, and I guess some of the stuff you must be thinking about as an in-game leader and your team's future. Do you think it comes to a point where it's too late for you guys to pick up the map and then get competitive of it? Is that something you think about, or is it okay for you just to be good on 6 maps?
I'd say it's not too late, because you can all. Because I think the thing is that you if we're gonna pick Vertigo, it's gonna be against those teams that also float Vertigo.
Okay.
So, for example, there is Navi. Let's say they don't play Vertigo at all, and they float it. Especially like against us, we played a best of 3, and we both kept floating Vertigo until the end. And against those kind of teams, you have it as a map that you slowly work on, and if you play against a team that doesn't play Vertigo, that you can just, if they want to play it, you play it, and then you're kind of good at it because you have practiced it somewhat.
Sure.
And let's say that you get a couple games in and you see like you're making success, then maybe at some point you can even work it as a better map of yours, and suddenly it's in your map pool.
Sure. Makes sense. Makes sense. You know what? I think you've been a stellar example of how to voice your thoughts throughout the community. Myself personally as well learned a few things or two, so I'm super happy for that. I hope you enjoyed being part of this. Is there anything you want to say to the crowd out there? I know there's a lot of Finnish people watching the stream right now, so you can
I saw a comment like, why do I have my headset on? Why is this thing not touching my head? It's because it has a band here.
Ah, okay.
Like
I was thinking about it as well. Maybe it's the new style.
This thing will touch your head before this. So.
Okay, so it's not flying on your head. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I asked Nathan as the very final thing last time as well. What is the perfect scenario for OG when we finish 2020? Where exactly on the world ranking are you gonna be happy to place? Is that gonna be 7th, 8th, 9th, 1st,
Inside
2nd?
top 10.
Inside top 10.
Inside top 10, and it's up for us to show how far we can reach.
Okay.
But inside top 10 is a good goal, especially right now. We're not even, we're not even half a year in, and we're top 14. Or I didn't check it, top 14, top 15. So it's only 5 steps to make it into top 10. But I want to be a top 10 team that people are not like, yeah, OG fluked their way to top 10 and
Sure.
they're not gonna stay there. I want to be a top 10 team that deserves to be there.
A consistent one of the kinds, yeah. All right, then. I wish you the best of luck with that journey. Thank you so much for coming in and spending 2 hours with me and the community out there. I think all of us learned a bit. Anything else you want to say? The word is yours. You can do it in Finnish, you can do it in English. It's up to you, and then we'll round it all off.
Just gonna thank the fans that came here today to listen to me, and I mean, overall the positive feedback or the constructive feedback, always open for everything, and just giving props to all these guys who are supporting me, and Team OG and everyone.
Fantastic, fantastic. It was a pleasure to talk to you today. That'll be it for the day, boys. We're done with another session of Blast Greats. I know they'll be back tonight. It's going to be Launders and Elise, if I'm not mistaken. You don't want to miss out on that one. That'll be it for me now. I'm going to move on with my life and hopefully going to check out a few of the VODs from OG. They seem to me to be a very interesting team. Some of the players on the lineup, of course, all-time greats. NBK, we got AleksiB in there, we got Valde, Danish guys. There's a lot of prospects within that team that is going to be super, super interesting to follow. I hope you guys enjoyed this little 2-hour session with AleksiB. I, for once, personally think this was by far the best one we've done so far. He gave me a lot of things to think about, and he was very good at reflecting and answering to some of the questions, especially the one with the mid-door smoke. That's a good one for you out there. Of course, I'm aware, but sometimes I need to be reminded as well. The communication part with Mantuu getting killed because of he didn't communicate properly enough to Mantuu, but he did communicate properly to Issa. There's so many aspects going into those ones, so if you guys haven't seen the entire thing, I will definitely suggest you guys to go back into the Blast Pro series, or sorry, into the Blast Spring series YouTube, check them out and figure out what you can learn from a guy from AleksiB. That'll be it for me today. It's been fantastic to entertain you guys for the past 2 hours, and hopefully I'll be back sometime soon.